Shalom, welcome to Tactically Torah. I am Keith Hayes. Today is day 79 of Read the Bible in a Year, and we are on Judges. We're in the book of Judges, reading chapters 5, 6, and 7. Let's get started. And on that day, Deborah and Barak, son of Abinoam, sang for the leaders leading in Israel, for the people volunteering. Bless Yahweh. Hear, O sovereigns, give ear, O princes. I do sing to Yahweh. I sing praise to Yahweh, Elohim of Israel. Yahweh, when you went out from Seir, when you stepped from the field of Edom, the earth shook and the heavens poured. The clouds also poured water. The mountains flowed at the presence of Yahweh, the Sinai at the presence of Yahweh, Elohim of Israel. In the days of Shamgar, the son of Anath, in the days of Yael, the highways were deserted, and the travelers went in crooked ways. Leadership ceased. It ceased in Israel. Until I, Deborah, arose, a mother in Israel arose. They chose new mighty ones, then fighting was in the gates. Neither a shield nor a spear was seen among 40,000 in Israel. My heart is toward the inscriber of Israel, the volunteers among the people. Bless Yahweh. You who ride on white donkeys, you who sit on rich carpets, and you who walk along the way, declare it by the voice of shouters. Between the places of drawing water, there they recount the righteous acts of Yahweh, the righteous acts of his leadership in Israel. And then the people of Yahweh shall go down to the gates. Wake up, Deborah. Wake up, wake up. Sing a song, arise, Barak, and lead your captives away, O son of Abinoam. Then he set the remnant to rule the nobles. Yahweh came down for me against the mighty ones. Out of Ephraim their root is against Amalek. After you, Benjamin, with your peoples. Out of Machir inscribers came down, and out of Zebulun those who handle the scribes' reed. And the heads of Issachar were with Deborah. And as Issachar, so was Barak sent into the valley under his command. Among the divisions of Reuben, there were great searchings of heart. Why did you remain among the sheepfolds to hear the bleatings of the flocks? The divisions of Reuben have great searchings of heart. Gilad remained beyond the Jordan. And why did Dan sojourn by the ships? Asher continued at the seashore and remained by its landing place. Zebulun is a people who risked their lives to the point of death. Naphtali also on the heights of the field. Sovereigns came, they fought. Then sovereigns of Canaan fought in Ta'anak. By the waters of Megiddo, they took no spoils of silver. From the heavens they fought, the stars from their courses fought against Sisera. The Wadi of Kishon swept them away. That age-old Wadi, the Wadi of Kishon. O my being, you have trampled in strength. Then stamped hoofs of horses with the galloping of his steeds. Curse Meroz, said the messenger of Yahweh. Curse its inhabitants, because they did not come up to the help of Yahweh among the mighty. Blessed above women is Yael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Above women in tents she is blessed. He asked for water, she gave milk. She brought out curdled milk in a bowl for nobles. She stretched her hand to the tent peg, and her right hand to the workman's hammer. Then she pounded Sisera. She smashed his head. She pierced and struck through the side of his head. Between her feet he bowed. He fell and lay still. Between her feet she bowed. He fell. Where he bowed, there he fell, destroyed. Through the window the mother of Sisera looked and cried out through the lattice, "Why does his chariot delay to come? Why have the steps of his chariot tarried?" The wise ones of her princesses answered her. Indeed, she answered herself. Do they not find and divide the spoil? A girl or two for each man. A spoil of dyed work for Sisera, a spoil of dyed work richly embroidered for the necks of the looter. So do all your enemies perish, O Yahweh? But let those who love him be like the sun rising in its might, and the land had rest 40 years. Chapter 6. And the children of Israel did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, and Yahweh gave them into the hand of Midian for 7 years. And the hand of Midian was strong against Israel. And before the faces of the Midianites, the children of Israel made for themselves the refuges, which are in the mountains and the caves and the strongholds. And it came to be, whenever Israel had sown, that Midian would come up, and Amalek and the people of the east would come up against them, and encamp against them, and destroy the increase of the soil as far as Azah, and leave no food in Israel, neither sheep nor ox nor donkey. For they came up with their livestock and their tents, coming in as numerous as locusts, and they and their camels were without number, and they came into the land to destroy it. Thus Israel was brought very low. Because of Midian, the children of Israel cried out to Yahweh. And it came to be, when the children of Israel cried out to Yahweh because of Midian, that Yahweh sent a prophet to the children of Israel and said to them, Thus said Yahweh Elohim of Israel, I have brought you up from Mitzrayim, and I brought you out of the house of bondage, and I delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrites and out of the hand of all your oppressors, and drove them out before you, and gave you their land. And I said to you, I am Yahweh your Elohim. Do not fear the mighty ones of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell. And you have not obeyed my voice. And the messenger of Yahweh came and sat under the terebinth tree, which is in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezerite, while his son Gidon threshed wheat in the winepress to hide it from the eyes of the Midianites. And the messenger of Yahweh appeared to him and said to him, Yahweh is with you, you mighty brave one. And Gideon said to him, O my master, if Yahweh is with us, why has all this come upon us? Why has this all come upon us? And where are all his wonders which our fathers related to us, saying, Did not Yahweh bring us up from Mitzrayim? But now Yahweh has left us and given us into the hands of Midian. And Yahweh turned to him and said, Go in this strength of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you? And he said to him, O Yahweh, with what do I save Israel? See, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And Yahweh said to him, Because I am with you, you shall strike the Midianites as one man. And he said to him, Please, if I have found favor in your eyes, then show me a sign that It is you who are speaking with me. Please do not move away from here until I come to you and bring out my offering and set it before you." And he said, "I shall stay until you return." And Gideon went in and prepared a young goat and unleavened bread from an ephah of flour. The meat he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot, and he brought them out to him under the terebinth tree and presented it. And the messenger of Elohim said to him, "Take the meat and the unleavened bread and lay them on this rock and pour out the broth." And he did so. And the messenger of Yahweh put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand and touched the meat and the unleavened bread, and the fire went up from the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened bread, and the messenger of Yahweh went from his sight. And when Gideon saw that he was the messenger of Yahweh, Gideon said, "O Master Yahweh, for I have seen a messenger of Yahweh face to face." And Yahweh said to him, "Peace be with you, do not fear, you do not die." And Gideon built a slaughter place there to Yahweh and called it Yahweh Shalom. To this day it is still an Ophrah of the Abiezerites. And the same night it came to be that Yahweh said to him, "Take a young bull of your father and the second bull of 7 years old, and you shall throw down the slaughter place of Baal and your father has, and cut down the Asherah that is beside it. And you shall build a slaughter place to Yahweh your Elohim on top of this rock in an orderly way, and shall take the second bull of an offering of the ascending offering with the wood of the image which you cut down." And Gideon took 10 men from his servants and did as Yahweh had said to him. And it came to be, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city too much to do it by day, that he did it by night. And the men of the city arose early in the morning and saw the slaughter place of Baal was broken down, and the Asherah that was beside it had been cut down, and the second bull was being offered on the slaughter place which was built. And they said to each other, "Who has done this deed?" And when they had inquired and asked, they said, "Gideon, son of Joash, has done this deed." And the men of the city of Joash said to Joash, "Bring out your son so that he dies, for he has broken down the slaughter place of Baal, and because he has cut down the Asherah that was beside it." And Joash said to all who stood against him, Would you plead for one who would plead for him to be put to death by morning? If he is a mighty one, let him plead for himself, because his slaughter place has been broken down." So that day he called Jerubbaal, called him Jerubbaal. "Let Baal plead against him, because he has broken down his slaughter place." Now all Midian and Amalek and the people of the east were gathered together, and they passed over and encamped in the valley of Israel. Then the Spirit of Yahweh came upon Gideon and blew the shofar, and the Abiezerites gathered behind him. And he sent messengers throughout all of Manasseh, who had also gathered behind him, and he sent messengers to Asher and to Zebulun and to Naphtali, and they came to meet him. And Gideon said to Elohim, "If you are saving Israel by my hand, as you have said, see, I am placing a fleece of wool on the threshing floor, and if there is dew only on the fleece, and it is dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you are saving Israel by my hand, as you have said." And it was so. He rose early the next morning and pressed the fleece and wrung out of the fleece to fill a bowl with water. And Gideon said to Elohim, "Do not be displeased with me, And let me speak only this time. Please let me try only this time with the fleece. Please let it be dry only with the fleece, and let there be dew on all the ground. And Elohim did so that night, and it was dry on the fleece only, but there was dew on all the ground. Chapter 7. And Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all the people who were with him, rose up early and encamped by the fountain of Harod, so that the camp of Midian was on the north side of them, by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And Yahweh said to Gideon, the people who are with you are too many for me to give Midian into their hands, lest Israel boast against me, saying, my own hand has saved me. And now proclaim in the hearing of the people, saying, whoever is afraid and trembling, let him turn back and leave Mount Gilad. And 22,000 of the people turned back, while 10,000 remained. And Yahweh said to Gideon, the people are still too many. Bring them down to the water, and let me prove them for you there. And it shall be that of whom I say to you, this one goes with you, let him go with you. And of whomever I say to you, this one does not go with you, let him not go. So he brought the people down to the water, and Yahweh said to Gideon, everyone who laps water with his tongue as a dog laps, separate him from everyone who bows down on his knees to drink. And the number of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, was 300 men, and all the rest of the people bowed down on their knees to drink. And Yahweh said to Gideon, by the 300 men who lapped I save you, and shall give Midian into your hand. Let all the people go, each to his place. And the people took food and their shofrot in their hands, and he sent away all the rest of Israel, each to his tent, but held on to those 300 men. Now the camp of Midian was below him in the valley, and it came to be on that night that Yahweh said to him, arise, go down against the camp, for I have given it into your hand. But if you are afraid to go down you and Purah your servant to the camp. And you shall hear what they say, and after let your hands be strengthened, and you shall go down against the camp. So he went down with Purah his servant to the edge of the formation of fives who were in the camp. And Midian and Amalek and all the people of the east were lying in the valley, as many as locusts, and their camels were as numerous as the sands of the seashore. And Gideon came, and see, a man was relating a dream to his companion, and said, see, I had a dream. And see, a loaf of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian, and it came to a tent, and struck it, so that it fell and overturned, and the tent fell down. And his companion answered and said, this is none other than the sword of Gideon, son of Joash, a man of Israel. Elohim has given Midian and all the camp into his hand. And it came to be when Gideon heard this dream related and its interpretation, that he bowed himself down, and he returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, for Yahweh has given the camp of Midian into your hand. And he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put shofrot into the hands of all of them, with empty jars and torches inside the jars. And he said to them, watch me, and do likewise, and see, when I come to the edge of the camp, do as I do. And I shall blow with the shofar, and all those with me, and then you shall also blow the shofar round about all the camp, and say, For Yahweh and for Gideon. And Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the edge of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, as they had but newly posted the watch. And they blew with the shofar and broke the jars that were in their hands. And the three companies blew the shofar and broke the jars, and held the torches in their left hands and the shofar in their right hands for blowing. And they cried, A sword for Yahweh and for Gideon. And each stood in his place round about the camp, and the army ran and cried out and fled, and 300 blew the shofar, and Yahweh set the sword of each one against the other throughout all the camp, and the army fled to Beth Shittah toward Sererah, as far as the border of Abel Meholah by Tabath. And the men of Israel were called from Naphtali and from Asher and from Manasseh, and pursued Midian. Then Gideon sent messengers throughout all the mountains of Ephraim, saying, Come down to meet Midian and capture from them the watering places as far as Beth Barah in the Jordan. So all the men of Ephraim were called and captured the watering places as far as Beth Barah and the Jordan. And they captured 2 princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeeb, and killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and Zeeb they killed at the winepress of Zeeb while they pursued Midian. And they brought the heads of Oreb and Zeeb to Gideon beyond the Jordan. All right, that's 5, 6, and 7. Shalom.